Hey guys, Palpatine here. Today we deep dive into Tololo, the Stargazer, one of the most hyped launch characters for global and the target of many people's rerolls. If you want big burst DPS, she's your girl. Her overall rating is 71.5, which is good for number 9 on our rankings overview video. Feel free to check out that video if you haven't, link in the description below. Starting with her popularity, 85 points. She's so popular in China and stayed popular throughout the year because people are just nuts for white-haired girls. Especially after her swimsuit skin was released, oh man, people went crazy. And for skills, she gets an 80 points. She has the most terrifying mechanic in any turn-based strategy game. Taking extra turns. If you played any other turn-based games, you should be well aware that every developer is so careful and afraid about implementing this extra turn mechanic because the risk is just too high that players might find ways to completely break the game and then the developer would be screwed. But so far it appears that Mika has done a great job with Tololo, making her super fun to play with while not breaking the game. Her skill 2, which is a 130 modifier hydro damage skill, it's standard, but a couple of things to note. First, it's got a 2-turn cooldown, which is considered pretty long. Second, it gives you 2 CI, short for Confectance Index, when you hit any enemy's weakness. Now this weakness includes both the bullet type weakness and the elemental weakness. They both count. So plus, even if the enemy doesn't have medium bullet weakness or hydro weakness, well, you can just create some water tiles on the ground and then the enemy standing on those tiles would have a hydro weakness. So Sabrina is great at creating water tiles on the ground with her big AoE attacks, so she's a great partner for Tololo. Tololo's skill 3 also has a 2-turn cooldown with a 130 damage mod, but this time it's a physical damage. And when you have 2 or more buffs on you, it increases the damage by 20% and gain 2 CI. It's just so easy to get buffs in GFL 2, especially after the early game. So the condition for skill 3 is overall easier to fulfill than skill 2. But both skills serve the purpose to maximize CI generation. Her skill 4 ultimate is just a 180 mod hydro damage. It's a very high mod, very high. It has a 4-turn cooldown, but if you have 3 buffs, it reduces the cooldown by 2. Okay, now, her passive is her bread and butter and puts all the puzzle's pieces together. So at the beginning of the battle, she'll automatically get maximum CI. And then after she attacks, if CI is maxed, then she'll consume all of it and gain an extra turn. And at the start of each action, okay, every CI you have, you get a buff, right? So if you have 2 CI, you get 1 buff, 4 you get 2, etc. Plus, each time your teammate deals hydro damage to an enemy, you get 1 stack of light spike. Now, light spike, it just gives you 3% crit and 3% crit damage, stacks up to 8. So if you have water teammates like Sabrina or Zhao Hui, you can rack up to 8 stacks pretty fast, which gives you a permanent, essentially 24 crit and 24 crit damage. And this is why Tololo crits pretty easily. To sum up, Tololo's entire playstyle revolves around CI generation and buffs. So the more CI, equals more buffs equals even more CI. And then every time she hits max CI, she gets an extra turn. So that's her playstyle. And at V0, no dupes, I have to say her rotation is a little bit slow. Basically, you can expect to pop her extra turn maybe once every 2 or 3 turns. Also keep in mind, Tololo's extra turn is truly an extra turn, meaning the way it's coded on the back end, everything that's associated with end of turn effects gets triggered. So for example, Suomi's shield, which is supposed to last 2 rounds, right? Well, you put that shield on Tololo, and then Tololo does her turn, the shield goes down to 1 turn, and then Tololo gets an extra turn, and now suddenly your shield is gone, and basically had no benefit. I explained this as well in our Suomi video, so definitely watch out for this mechanic, because it could yield some unexpected results. For stats, she gets 90 points. She has high base attack for a DPS. I think out of all the characters currently in the game in CN, she's got like the 5th or 7th highest base attack. And realistically, that's as good as it can get, because any higher, she's just too broken with the extra turns, right? Same with her mobility. Design-wise, they probably can't give her any higher than 5 movement, because again, it'd just be too broken. She also has 9 stability, 20 crit, and 120 crit damage. Those are all standard. And again, like Sharkry, in CN, Totoro's crit damage actually shows 130 instead of 120 for us. So maybe it's a later buff, I'm not sure. Crit damage actually gets extra value for Tololo, specifically, because she can crit very easily. So you don't need to stack crit all that much. You can just focus on crit damage. For gear and attachment synergy, 80 points. At V0, no dupes, her skill 3 does physical damage. But at V2, it turns to hydro damage, which is where she wants to be. So at V2, you can gear her for all the hydro bonus for maximum efficiency, but until then, skill 3 doesn't benefit from hydro bonus. Therefore, for attachment, you want phase strike before V2, and then you switch to hydro boost set after V2. Also keep in mind, at V2, her skill 3 generates an additional CI if you have 3 buffs. This extra CI is kind of a big deal for Totoro's skill rotation. I mean, you don't have to chase V2, but just know that V2 is a big deal for her. As for weapon, her best one is of course the Planeta. It's tailor-made for her, you know, the bonuses you get come from extra turns. That's just her weapon. For stability damage, 45 points, very average. So you want to pair her with a much stronger stability breaker, if possible. Stability recovery, 0 points is normal. DPSs don't have it. As for keys, she gets 70 points. It's just decent considering 5-star units require 3 times more info cores as investment, right? You definitely want to bring the invisible light key to get the extra damage during your extra turn. So that's an important one. The principles of observational astronomy, Jesus Christ. That name, dude. It makes your skill 2 apply a healing debuff, and is insanely good for future bosses that like to heal a lot of HP. The retrograde motion key applies a stun to your skill 3, but like all the bosses are immune to stun, so it's not very useful or highly situational. The key galactic cruise is super good if you have other water teammates to create water tiles on the map. So when Tololo exploits it, she'll dispel 2 buffs. And buff dispel, it gets more important later on. Another thing you guys should know is in CN, they recently buffed a couple of characters like Tololo, Sabrina, Kaufne, and maybe a few others. I'll have to look into it. And Tololo's buff was massive. They gave her an extra key at the end of her key tree. And what it does is whenever she uses an active skill, automatically gain 2 CI. And whenever a teammate other than herself does any hydro damage, her skill 2 cooldown is reduced by 1. So now the crazy thing is, if she has good water teammates, she can pretty much max out her CI and pop the extra turn every turn. So Tololo players can look forward to that for the future. So that was our Tololo deep dive. You won't regret investing in her because to this day in China, there's really no direct replacement for what she's capable of doing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope everyone is enjoying the game as much as I am. If you liked the video, feel free to hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.